captivating chat. Seems like it was just no time that we were last doing this. I'm having a lot of fun, and this is a great place to be. I'm always grateful to all of you who watch me, who respond back to me, me your comments, your feedback, your questions. Some of you want to discuss old Hollywood movies, a certain star, and I'm always happy to do that, especially old Hollywood, especially Lucille Ball. I love Lucy. Let's see. I'm just checking my sound here. Yes, everything's good. It's all live. Just working out some bugs here. But I get increasingly more comfortable with this format, and it's increasingly becoming like breathing to me. It's a lot of fun. Um, let's see. We're trying to get set up here. My wonderful manager, Debbie Brady, is doing a little magic right now behind the scenes, some technical stuff. But I just looked at my phone here for the weather because a lot of you out there are going through some real extremes right now. And of course, here in Los Angeles, it seems like it's always perpetual summer. At least that's the reputation we have. But let's see, right now it's 71 degrees, which isn't so bad for the last days of January. But come this Friday and Saturday, according to my phone here, it's going to get down into the low 40s. And for Los Angeles, that is practically a blizzard. It's supposed to be raining and cold. So it's going to be the antithesis of stereotypical Los Angeles weather. And I've always found the way the pressure systems work when we're having a heat wave, the East Coast, it's cold and miserable and snowy. And likewise, when the East Coast is getting hit with nice weather, we get the crappy weather. It keeps trading and pushing back and forth. So I don't know what's going to be happening for the rest of you, but if it's true to form, I'd say the rest of the country is going to have some good weather this weekend. We're going to be shut-ins for once. Anyway, it's good to have you here. Let me see if I have any comments, anything. Anybody joining in just yet? I imagine people will start coming in soon. So I'm just going to keep talking here. I've been working on some different projects, art projects right now, some writing projects, uh, doing my videos for my channel, Chuck's uh, Captivating Chronicles. Hey, Pam. Hey, Francine. Thank you so much for joining. It's always so good to have you here. So I've been staying busy creatively, which is where I'm happiest because my creativity is like my lifeblood. But to get to the show, I always promise some industry news. And I saw today, this was a video I did a while back about Cher trying to get conservatorship of her son Elijah Blue, feeling that he's a danger to himself because of his drug addictions, and she's worried about him squandering his trust fund that he got from his father, Greg Allman. Well, today the judge denied Cher's petition, and but I'm told it's not the end of it. There is going to be one more hearing in March. Where that's going to differ, I don't know, but it does not look like Cher is going to succeed in her plans. But as Cher said, a mother will do whatever she has to do for her child and whatever extreme it takes. I know Cher's heart was in the right place here, but her son is 47 years old and very much an adult, and it's his life to do as he chooses. And I also was very happy because, I always try to tie in Hollywood history with the show. So it's a really great thing when I can. What's this, Debbie? I'm still fairy dusting. Tell me about that. Um, I'm always happy when I can tie a current entertainment industry story in with an old Hollywood story. And, I was actually going to show this anyway today. Um, this is a ruby slipper purse, evening bag, that was made by the Motion Picture Academy. They were selling these in the gift store for a lot of money, a lot. And it was when they had one of the 4 pairs of the original ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz on display. Now, I was kind of confused about that because I was under the impression the ruby slippers were gonna be a permanent part of the museum, a permanent acquisition. Turns out they were only there for about a year or so, and who knows where they are now. And the museum was unloading these. They drastically reduced the price on these, and, I swear to you, I am not a man who carries a purse, much less one with red sequins, and much less a ruby slipper purse, but this is quite a collectible because it is a close replica to, the ruby slipper. It's even, I believe, Judy Garland's size 6B. So I thought it was kind of fun. I was gonna show this originally because I went to Judy Garland's grave again last Friday. I was in West Hollywood, believe it or not, getting my hair cut. You may be going, but your hair's longer right now. It's only because I don't have it clipped back like I usually do. I had some layers cut in my hair. So while I was in West Hollywood, I took advantage of the chance to shoot some on location videos. There's just a plethora of sites there related to old Hollywood. And there's also Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And I stopped by Judy's grave because I held up the ruby slipper, held it up to her grave, and I talked a little about The Wizard of Oz because I am of the opinion that's the closest thing Hollywood has ever come to making a truly perfect movie. Yes, Pam, you would rock this purse, wouldn't you? I'm not parting with it. Francine, would you rock it too? Yeah, it is beautiful. I just thought it was a beautiful collector's piece. You see, as an artist, I love beautiful design, beautiful craftsmanship. I also happen to love the movie The Wizard of Oz, so it's just something I keep in my china cabinet right now. But anyway, enough about that. I did a little piece about The Wizard of Oz, and what better place to do it from than from Judy Garland's grave. Some people have been critical of me, going, "Well, that's disrespectful to Judy." No, I disagree with that, and the reason I say that is because I always go there out of love and out of respect for Judy, and I like to think Judy is smiling and loving that and loving the attention and the adoration. So that's the place I come from, never from a place of disrespect. But while I was out there, I also stopped by Rudolph Valentino's grave, which is actually a wall crypt. And I have a video I posted on my channel today where I talked about that because there were always plans. You have to remember, Rudolph Valentino was a superstar. He was probably the biggest male actor in silent movies. He was young, he was good looking, he was kind of like the Clark Gable of the silent era, uh, the George Clooney of today, the Brad Pitt, whatever. And so there were plans to build this big, grandiose, ostentatious mausoleum with lots of statues around, and that was going to be his final resting place. So they put him in what was supposed to be a temporary wall crypt, put him away almost the equivalent of a drawer. And whatever happened, that mausoleum never got built, and here it is 98 some years later, and Valentino is still there, and that is most certainly going to be his final resting place. So I did a piece from there. Um, I saw Douglas Fairbanks' grave. And I've got a video for that. Douglas Fairbanks was probably the closest thing to a contemporary to Rudolph Valentino. The big leading man of the silent era, married to Mary Pickford, one half of the first true Hollywood power couple. And Douglas Fairbanks Sr., of course, does have a big, grandiose mausoleum, complete with a big, long, reflecting pond and statues and columns. And I think that's what they were intending for Valentino. But it was interesting to see Fairbanks' grave and then segue over to Tyrone Power, who was there. Now, Tyrone has a simpler grave, but there's a nice marble bench, and there's a quote from Shakespeare. And Tyrone Power was the one who inherited the mantle of the swashbuckler male lead in the movie. So I don't know. I thought there was some interesting correlation there. And I also saw dear Valerie Harper's grave. I never got to meet her. I've mentioned before that I was friends with David Groh, who played her husband Joe on her iconic series Rhoda back in the 70s. And because of my friendship with David, I was invited to the memorial service, but I couldn't attend. They wouldn't let me off from work. But I heard that Valerie gave a beautiful eulogy for David. And David's widow, Kristen, told me that Valerie was so supportive and so helpful because Kristen was devastated losing David. And she said Valerie was such emotional support and such love and so devoted to her. So just wanted to tell that. And so anyway, I'm going to have some videos on my channel unfolding from my yet again visit to Hollywood Forever Cemetery. But you know, some people are creeped out by cemeteries. I'm not. I see cemeteries as celebrations of life. I look around, I see all the markers and graves and mausoleums, and I see people who have touched the world. They left their mark. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. And what's great about Hollywood Forever Cemetery is so many of those great old stars are buried and interred there. So it's also a walking celebration of old Hollywood. So you can imagine why I love being there. Um, so I will put these up in the coming days. I'm trying to put videos in the vault. It's a lot of work shooting all these because I try to get 3 videos a day from my channel. And we've also launched another channel for my cat, Sasha. Sasha is actually at the other end of the room here, but I cannot get her to come over. And we have a little bit of a running joke that this is Sasha's stand-in. Sasha's stuffed stand-in. I've already done a few videos, but we're going to take this further. Um, Debbie has helped me to come up with another character, Serena Softpaws. And my dear friend, Pam of Pomona Remembers, has graciously agreed to be the voice of Serena Softpaws. And we were talking about this, and we might even create a new puppet altogether that will be exclusive for this. Um, yeah. So we'll see where it goes. But anyway, the whole point of this is if any of you out there have cats, you know it ain't easy taking videos and pictures of cats. I am doing good if I get maybe 17 usable seconds at a time. So I think a stand-in is going to come in very handy, and I'm anxious to see what creative directions we're going to go with this. It's all fun and it's all good. Pomona Remembers, would you believe that I love graveyards too? Yes, I would believe that because I think I know that you and I are on very similar wavelengths. I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but we love so many of the same things. We think along the same terms, and I'm sure that you see that as like I do, celebrations of lives. Francine, you said why rub them? Why rub them? I'm not sure if I understand. What do you mean? Let me see here. Let me go back on some comments here. Let's see. Did I miss something here? No, I don't see it. Francine, do you mean like make rubbings off of the graves? Because I've known people to do that, like take a piece of paper, a piece of like a pastel crayon or something, and do rubbings directly off of that. Maybe that's what you meant by that. And that's certainly a way to have a memento. Particularly if it's a star that you love very much. And my feeling is these stars, they love it. I believe in their souls. They love it. They love it that people come by and pay their respects and give their love. Um, okay, I see here. Yes. Okay, Francine, you understand. Sorry, I'm trying to read the commentaries and talk at the same time. And I guess while we're on the subject of cemeteries here, um, I have a friend who adores Elizabeth Taylor, as I do as well. And Elizabeth is interred at Forest Lawn, Glendale, in the great mausoleum. Uh, she's where Jean Harlow, Clark Gable, Carol Lombard are. Michael Jackson is interred there, but his grave is strictly off limits. It's on another floor. It's locked off to the public, which I think it's a shame. That's true also for Gable and Lombard. They're in a private area. You can sneak in there, but I do mean that. You have to sneak in there. You have to like crawl under a rope and get past the security cameras and so forth to visit the graves. Same thing with Jean Harlow. And to me, I don't get the point of that. I think as long as a person is being respectful, like I love Carol Lombard and I have gone in there just to put flowers in her vase. Simple as that. Just pay respects. But anyway, Elizabeth Taylor has one of the most beautiful graves there. It's actually a tomb where she has a big 20-foot angel statue and in gold lettering, Elizabeth Rosamond Taylor. And it was put in her will that she have orchids brought fresh every week. I think for like the next 70 years. So it's a beautiful place. And the intention was that Elizabeth have a beautiful grave for her fans to come visit. And because she was so close to Michael Jackson, I cannot help but think when she saw how his grave was not available to the public, she decided to go in the other direction. And so her grave is accessible. And I brought my friend there. And there's even a beautiful bench. And we sat there and we just kind of meditated. I felt Elizabeth's spirit. It's a very beautiful, gracious spirit. And, I've said this to Pam and others, those of us who do intuitive channeling with the spirits. One of the best ways to know that it's authentic is when they interject their humor. When they say something that's a little off color, a little irreverent, something that's indicative of their personality. That's how I always know it's real. Well, anyway, we were sitting there on the bench, we had our backs against the marble wall, I guess literally a foot or so away from Elizabeth's earthly remains. And they have a big replica of the Last Supper in there. It's all done up in stained glass and they have this recorded tour. They play over the loudspeakers like I don't know, every 10 minutes or so. And as we were sitting there, we were thinking, this is kind of obnoxious. And we both were laughing because we both channel Elizabeth and we both I swear we could hear Elizabeth Taylor going, how do you think I feel having to listen to that fucking thing all day long, all into eternity? I have to listen to that thing. And of course, we know she was kidding, but it was kind of true too. Poor Elizabeth having to listen to that all of the time. Pomona, what should I watch for Elizabeth Taylor? Um, she always uses the color purple with me. I mean, maybe that's kind of an obvious thing, but she was, of course, her violet eyes were her trademark. And Elizabeth loved the color purple. She would, I've seen her personal stationery, purple stationery, and she would write in purple ink. It's very much her signature color, just like, we associate pink with Marilyn Monroe. So uh, there's a vibrational energy that I get. It's not just seeing the color, it's the vibrational energy of purple. And I know that you understand what I'm talking about. And then it's also, I just know her presence. I know her personality. I know her humor. Elizabeth is gracious. She's warm. She has a wicked sense of humor. And yes, she occasionally lets the F word fly out. But her heart is enormous. And she loves to play matchmaker Cupid. And I think I even talked with you the other night. Um, she likes to play that role. She's just an inveterate matchmaker. Elizabeth was about love. She was about relationships. She was about passion. Though after I think it was her seventh or eighth marriage, someone was interviewing her Elizabeth, or Miss Taylor, do you think you'll ever get married again? And her response was, no, 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 no. She made it very clear that she was done with that. Yes, Pam, you're right. That was her very last movie, The Flintstones. And I think that was indicative of the sense of humor Elizabeth Taylor had. She requested to be in that movie. She wanted, I think the character was Pearl Snagglehooper or something, but she was Fred Flintstone's bitchy mother-in-law, and I'm sure she just was chomping at the bit to play that role. It was kind of cute. And yes, yeah, I love National Velvet also. She was only 12 years old when she made that movie. And she was so in love with the horse in the movie, that she wanted to buy the horse from the trainer, and the trainer refused to sell to her. It's similar to Judy Garland. This is a true story. She was in love with the dog who played Toto. I mean, you see that in the movie, how close they were, after all those months of shooting. It's there on the screen. Judy wanted that dog so badly, but the trainer was not going to part with that dog. I forget what the dog's real name was. It wasn't Toto, but the dog appeared in a lot of movies, was considered very valuable because of the way it was trained to act on screen. So Judy did not get the dog. Elizabeth Taylor did not get the horse. But I also remember, if you recall in National Velvet, she had to pretend she was a boy to be a jockey to ride the horse. Girls were not allowed to do that. And there's this scene where she tells Mickey Rooney to cut her hair, cut it very short like a boy's. Well, Elizabeth was horrified by the thought in real life of having to part with her beautiful shoulder length hair. And I read this in Sidney Gilroth's autobiography. He was the big hairdresser at MGM for all the stars. Yeah, he was the one who decreed that Lucille Ball should be made a redhead in 1943. He wasn't the one who actually did it, but he's the one who ordered that Lucy be made a redhead, called it Titian red. No, Tango red. That was the color. So anyway, Sydney, he was ordered by the studio to do the haircut, to cut Elizabeth's hair off, cut it short like a boy's. And she was crying and begging him not to do it. And he said, okay, honey, I'll see what I can do for you. And he personally made a wig for her, personally. And if you know anything about wig making, it's an art. We have to actually stitch that, there's netting and you have to stitch in the hairline and all. It's almost like a form of sculpture when a wig is well made. He made her a boy's haircut wig. And he said, no, I don't know if we're going to fool the people or not, but let's give it a try, honey. And he put the wig on her, and they went to the set, and it was the director of the movie. And I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. I didn't know we were going to be talking about this, but the director took her cap off, touched her hair, and he goes, okay, this is good. This is good haircut. It'll do. So he didn't know it was a wig. And I'm sure Elizabeth and Sydney did a little high five behind the scenes that they succeeded. Elizabeth kept her tresses. So that's the little story about National Velvet. Let me see. Didn't Liz have an injury from that movie that nagged her for the rest of her life? That's a good question. I'm not sure. What I do know is that Elizabeth was plagued with many, many, many health problems from the time she was a young woman. 2 weeks before she won, or I think it was even less than 2 weeks before she won her Oscar for Butterfield 8, she nearly died. She went to the Oscars with a tracheotomy scar right here. That they had to perform a tracheotomy to save her life. I don't know. I know that Elizabeth had a very bad back. I'm ashamed to say I don't know if that resulted from National Velvet or not, but it's certainly not impossible. There's certainly a lot of stories of actors who were thrown from horses and dealt with injuries for the rest of their lives. I read Ricardo Montalban had serious back trouble. He had chronic pain for like 40, 50 years because of an accident from a horse. And Dick York, who played Darren on Bewitched, he, of course, was forced off the show because of his chronic back pain that was debilitating. It got to the point where he he just could no longer work. Well, that was from a Western he did in the I think in the very early 1950s, where he was thrown off of a horse. And of course, I don't know if he broke his back or what, but it resulted in a serious, serious lifelong injury. Um, yeah, no, you've got me curious about that. That's all I know off the top of my head about National Velvet. I remember when Carol Burnett did a very funny parody of it, where she played 12-year-old Elizabeth, but very buxom and very developed for 12. That stands out in my memory. But anyway, we're talking about Elizabeth, and we were laughing about her tomb. What else was I going to talk about today? I feel like I'm going all over the place here, but oh yeah, I was talking about the ruby slippers for the Wizard of Oz because I said at the top that this was a chance to take old Hollywood and a current story and combine it together because it was in the news today that the man who stole a pair of the ruby slippers from the Judy Garland Museum in I think it's Minnesota. I think it's Minnesota where the museum is in her hometown. Sorry to blank out there. But they had apparently very poor security there for something so valuable. There are four known pairs of the ruby slippers in existence, and they had one of the pairs. They just had them under like a plexiglass cube or something. It wasn't locked, it wasn't sealed. And this man cut a hole in through a window, came in, lifted up the plexiglass, and took the slippers. And I was reading that he got an extremely light sentence, no prison time. It was decreed because he's an elderly man, 76. He's in let's see, I don't know if he's in hospice care. Yeah, I saw that he's in hospice care. He's on oxygen therapy, so they were very lenient with him, and we're just grateful to get the shoes back. But what I thought was funny, or maybe this isn't funny, really, but the man claimed he had never seen The Wizard of Oz. He knew nothing about it, nothing about the ruby slipper significance. He was just there and saw the rubies, the quote unquote rubies, which are predominant in the bow. If you know the slippers, they're well here. They're mostly red sequins, and then there is the bow part here with the rubies, these little rubies. Anyway, he thought those rubies would be worth a fortune on the black market. He stole the shoes to sell the rubies. Not, and of course, found out 2 days later those rubies were fake. They were synthetic. These were prop shoes. And the shoes somehow got back to the museum. I forget the circumstances. I have to look that up. And the great irony is he thought they were worthless. Well, they were appraised for $3.5 million. They're considered one of the most priceless pieces of movie memorabilia in existence. And anyway, that was in the news today. I didn't mean to get off track there, but I guess that's part of the fun of doing a show like this and just being conversational. And let me see my comments here. Yes, the horse's name was the Pie. Yeah, I remember that from the movie. I don't know if that was the horse's name for real, but I know in the movie he was called the Pie. But Debbie said the tumble from the horse in the film might look like it was the work of a stunt double, yet it is Elizabeth taking the scripted and very real fall. And that's from an article in Vogue. So, yeah, it would make a lot of sense that her back trouble could have started from there because I know even in her 20s, she had a lot of problems. Um, but anyway, man thought he had something worthless. He actually had something worth 3.5 million, but good luck trying to sell those to anybody and not get caught. I'm just glad the ruby slippers are back safe and sound. Four pairs. I had read somewhere there was might have been as many as six pairs of the shoes, but nothing else has ever turned up. But we do have some nice replicas here, don't we? Let's see, what else was I going to talk about today? Yeah, this is not necessarily entertainment related, but I'm excited about it. It was just announced a little while ago. They think they may have found Amelia Earhart's plane at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. As we know, there have been searches going on for decades for this, and they've I think for at least the last 10, 20 years, a lot of the technology, the sonar technology that was used to find the Titanic was being used for this, and nothing was turning up. Well, today it was announced in the news, and they showed an image. It was very grainy, but at the bottom of the ocean, I tried to look up beforehand to see how deep it is. I'd be curious to know how far down they would have to go to reach this. But they found the outline image in the sonar that is consistent with her Lockheed Electra plane, which is very distinctive. It's amazing to me that it could even survive under ocean water like that. I know it was predominantly aluminum on the outside, so I don't know how aluminum holds up. I know the Titanic is literally disintegrating into a pile of rust. I read somewhere that maybe 20 to 50 years from now, the wreckage of the Titanic may not even exist anymore. It'll just be nothing but rust, powdered rust on the bottom of the ocean floor. But anyway, they found the plane and they're going to pursue it later this year. And I'm hoping they can bring submersibles down there and look at it up close. I don't know if it could be lifted up or not. People feel it's even right to lift that up. We don't know how Amelia died, if she died in the plane. I know nearby Howland Island, about 100 miles from where they found the plane, there has been some evidence of things that have been tantalizing. They haven't been able to prove conclusively, but they found like a heel to a shoe that they determined was consistent with a woman's shoe, the same size that Amelia Earhart wore. And it was definitely from that period of the 1930s. I think there was also like a cold cream jar, or it was like freckle remover cream or something, which Amelia was known to use. And it was consistent with that time period of the 1930s. And it was something, I think they spoke with some people, confirmed it was something she used. So they found those things on the island, never found any evidence of anything else. I don't think they found bones, or certainly not the plane, but there was a theory that the plane could have washed out with the tide and drifted out. So I'm just excited about that. I know that's not consistent with what I usually talk about here, but that's something that fascinates me. And I thought you might be interested in that. And let's see, I had some other notes here. How am I doing on my time here? Um, let's see. I did not get around to Lucille Ball, and I always promise a Lucille Ball story every week. Well, I am going to have some new videos to put up. Whenever I go to West Hollywood, I always try to go by her house on Ogden Drive. And when I say her house, this was the first home she ever owned. Well, technically, she rented it, but she came to Hollywood in 1933, to be in the Eddie Cantor movie, Roman Scandals. She was going to be a chorus girl in the movie. It was a musical. It was supposed to be for a few weeks. It ended up lasting 6 months. And Lucy decided she didn't want to go back to New York. She wanted to stay in Hollywood. She wanted to try her luck. So she brought her younger brother, Fred, out to Hollywood. And the two of them, Lucy was working at the studio. Her brother Fred had different jobs. I think at one point he was an assistant manager at one of the nightclubs on the Sunset Strip, but they saved everything they could put together so they could bring their mother, their grandfather, and their cousin Cleo out to California so they could all live together as they had once upon a time in Celeron, New York. And so this was the house they rented. I've already posted a few videos about it, but I tried to talk a little more about it. Last week on the show, I was mentioning Lucy and Ann Southern, how Ann Southern suggested that she take white enamel, paint the furniture, get blue throw rugs, paint the walls blue, so it would just have a nice, fresh, clean, rich look, since Lucy didn't have a lot of money and she wanted the house to look special. So I was reiterating that and talking about a few other things. So yeah, I'll have some more things about Lucy there. But I was also reminded that the anniversary just came up of when she and Desi came back to Jamestown, New York, her hometown. It was for the world premiere of their movie Forever Darling. They had had a very big hit with, "Hey, Joyce, you fell asleep? I hope I wasn't boring." Um, they had had a great success 2 years earlier with The Long, Long Trailer, so they decided to make another movie, as soon as they had a chance. They were very busy, obviously, with I Love Lucy, so it was 2 years before they got around to this, and they thought it'd be a great idea to have the world premiere in Lucy's hometown, and it was this week in 1956, Lucy and Desi came back to Jamestown, and they threw a big parade, and, it was huge, and, and friends were coming up to Lucy, "Remember me? Remember me? Remember me? We went to school together." And everybody just was delighted. Lucy was always so down to earth and friendly and just overjoyed to see people. But the real highlight was when Lucy went back to her childhood home and took a tour. And there's some wonderful pictures of her in there, uh, looking around in the living room, seeing the curtain bar. It was a little curtain that pulled across it separated the living room, or as they called it, the parlor. It was like a music room, parlor, family gathering area. And Lucy, as a little girl, used to use that as her stage, and she would perform for the family in that house. And according to her brother Fred, even at 8 years of age, she was phenomenally gifted. But she loved to be able to pull that curtain across. Same with the curtain rod, to this day is still there. So there's a wonderful picture of Lucy in there pointing up at the curtain rod and showing it to Desi. And I always get a sense of pride from that. I've mentioned it a few times before, and I've done a video about it. But Mary Rappaport, the incredible lady who now owns the house on 59 Lucy Lane, and she does make it available to the public. If you contact her, you can make an appointment with her, and she will give you a top to bottom first rate tour. She lovingly restored that house to the best of her ability. Money was no object. She did this purely out of love. And Lucy's brother, her younger brother, Fred, was still alive at this point. He was about 90 or 91, but his memory was very sharp, and he knew exactly what was in the house. It was authentic, what were original features, and so forth. And he knew where things were. He helped Mary to track down some of the original furnishings that were lost when the family was sued in 1927. That's another story. Grandpa Hunt had let some kids in the backyard practice target shooting with a rifle, and one of the kids got shot in the back and paralyzed. That's another story to go into, but the family was sued. They lost their house, they lost all their furniture. But because Jamestown is a small community, um, the furniture didn't go far. So they were able to track down pieces and buy furniture back. And thanks to Brother Fred, he knew where to put things back where they were. He knew the lighting fixtures, but he also went up in the attic with Mary, and they found swatches of the wallpaper, original wallpaper for the rooms. And he was able to identify, okay, this was the living room. This was like Lucy's bedroom. This was hallway. Mary, at great expense, took those wallpaper swatches and had the wallpaper hand silk screened and replicated. So it's amazing to go in that house. It's a time capsule. But this is where I am really, really proud and really honored. Mary commissioned me to do 4 oil paintings, large scale oil paintings of the family as they looked in 1920. So I have Lucy as an 8-year-old girl. And by the way, I have that on one of my videos on my channel. Look for it. I did brother Fred, and he was about 4 years old. I did their mother Dee Dee when she was a young, beautiful woman looking like a Gibson girl with her hair swept up. And then I did her grandpa Fred Hunt and his wife Flora Bell. And of course, Grandpa Hunt was the one who created all the trouble for Lucy in later years with the Communist Red Scare, when he persuaded the whole family to register as communists in 1936, and that was not a good thing come the McCarthy era in the early 50s. But that's another story to go into as well. So anyway, that's my connection to Lucille Ball's childhood home. My artwork hangs in the parlor of the family. And I just could not possibly be more proud of that fact. And anyway, I'll talk about that at greater length, perhaps on another show. Maybe I'll make some videos about it. I'm just looking to see if I have any comments here from anyone. You know, love National Velvet. Um, yeah, see, Joyce fell asleep. She woke up. Well, Joyce, you know something? You had a right to take a nap. I was going to say that I watched Joyce's show today. You know, her it's I think your second live stream you've done so far, and you had Pomona Remembers, Pam, as your guest, and I thought the two of you just sparkled. You had such chemistry with each other. It was a fascinating show. I love both of you. Both of you have become my dear friends now. And this was something I was just mentioning to our manager, Debbie, because Debbie said that she hoped that, eh, as she launches each of us, we can be like a family and we can be there on each other's shows, and Joyce has been on this show, Pam has been on this show, I'm going to be on their shows, and I'm sure we're going to be treating appearances all over the place. And then there's of course Tony Acosta, who's been on my show as well, and she has her own channel now. um, it's exciting to watch this come to fruition, and I do feel like these are members of my family now, and I look forward to working with everyone. Let's see. Any other comments here? Anybody have any questions or anything you want to talk about before we end the show right now? I'll just look here. Anything you want to ask me? Anybody? I'm not seeing anything pop up here. Yes, Joyce, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure to watch you. I wouldn't have missed you for anything. Um, yes, the Brady Bunch. It's true. Our manager is Debbie Brady, and I don't know how Debbie feels about that moniker, but we have called ourselves the Brady Bunch. That's what we are. I think it's a good thing. Did anybody have any questions before I go? Readings or anything? Or I'm at the near 45-minute mark here. Um, I may just sign out for right now. Um, it's just been wonderful. I thank all of you for joining me. I'm grateful to you. Um, Please watch my channel, Chuck's Captivating Chronicles. Like and subscribe my channel, Chuck's Captivating Chronicles. And of course, um, Sasha's Siamese Secrets, which is a new one we're launching right now. And Debbie going, Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. Yeah. So just be on the lookout for everything. And I thank you so much. And I guess I'm going to say goodbye until Monday of next week. I love you. And so much for now. Bye.